All right, so let's dive into some ancient history that I think still has some relevance for us today.
Hmm.
We're looking at Genesis chapter 41,
Okay.
the story of Pharaoh's dreams and Joseph's rise to power.
Right.
You probably already know the basic plot points, but
Hmm.
trust me, there's a lot more here than meets the eye.
A lot more going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a story that's captivated people for centuries, and for good reason, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It touches on themes of leadership, foresight,
Yeah.
and that cyclical nature of prosperity and hardship,
Right.
themes that are just as relevant now as they were back then.
So we start with Pharaoh having these incredibly vivid dreams.
Okay.
7 healthy cows get devoured by 7 scrawny ones,
Yeah,
and then 7 full ears of corn get consumed by 7 withered ones.
right.
Pretty disturbing stuff, right?
Yes, very symbolic.
What I find fascinating is that Pharaoh is immediately convinced that
Mhm.
these dreams are prophetic.
Well, that right there speaks volumes about the importance of dreams in ancient Egyptian culture.
Uh-huh.
Dreams weren't just seen as random firings of the subconscious,
Yeah,
They were considered messages from the divine,
right.
especially for the pharaoh.
Especially for the Pharaoh.
Interpreting these dreams wasn't just about understanding symbolism, it was about
Right.
connecting with the gods and understanding the fate of the nation.
And that makes Pharaoh's inability to find an interpreter all the more unsettling.
Yes.
He calls in his magicians and wise men, the best and brightest
Right.
Egypt has to offer,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all stumped.
Yeah.
You can practically feel the tension rising in the palace.
Oh, it's like a scene straight out of a thriller.
Yeah,
The stakes are so high,
right.
the fate of Egypt hangs in the balance, and no one has the answers.
And then enter Joseph, stage left.
Yeah.
Or, more accurately, enter the butler who was imprisoned with Joseph
Right.
and suddenly remembers his talent for dream interpretation.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about a convenient memory.
What do you think was going through the butler's mind at that moment?
I don't know. It's fascinating to consider, isn't it?
It is.
Maybe it was guilt for forgetting about Joseph,
Yeah.
coupled with the desperate hope that this Hebrew prisoner might hold the key to saving Egypt,
Right.
and by extension, the butler's own neck.
Exactly.
I'm curious about how the ancient Egyptians would have viewed this sudden turn of events.
Mm-hmm.
Was it seen as mere coincidence or a sign of divine intervention?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
The ancient Egyptians believed in fate and the interconnectedness of events.
Right.
So it's likely they would have seen the butler's memory, however conveniently timed,
Right.
as part of a larger cosmic plan, perhaps even orchestrated by the gods themselves.
So Joseph gets summoned from prison and brought before Pharaoh.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the scene?
I know.
What a whirlwind experience that must have been for him.
It's hard to fathom the emotions he must have been feeling.
Yeah.
Going from the darkness of a prison cell to the grandeur of Pharaoh's court, knowing that the fate of an entire nation might rest on his interpretation.
And what's remarkable is that even in this pressure cooker situation, Joseph remains humble
Yeah.
and attributes his ability to interpret dreams to a higher power.
Yeah.
It is not in me. God shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace, he tells Pharaoh.
That statement reveals a lot about his character.
Yes.
He's not claiming credit for himself.
Mm,
He's acknowledging that his insights come from a source beyond his own understanding,
right.
which would have added to his credibility in the eyes of the Egyptians.
So Joseph lays out his interpretation.
Okay.
The 7 healthy cows and full ears of corn represent 7 years of abundance.
Mm-hmm.
And the sickly cows and withered ears represent 7 years of famine,
Right.
so severe that it will wipe out all memory of the good years.
Wow.
This isn't just an interpretation, it's a stark warning.
And it's a pattern we see throughout history, these cyclical swings between prosperity and hardship.
Right.
Joseph's insight wasn't just in decoding the symbols. It was in recognizing this larger pattern and understanding its implications for Egypt.
But Joseph doesn't stop there.
No.
He offers Pharaoh a plan of action.
Okay.
He advises him to appoint a wise leader to oversee the gathering and storage of grain
Right.
during the years of plenty, so that Egypt will be prepared when the famine hits.
That's where we see Joseph's leadership qualities shine through.
Yeah.
He's not just a passive interpreter of dreams.
Right.
He's a proactive problem solver.
Mm.
He takes this frightening prophecy and turns it into an opportunity for action, for
Yeah.
planning, for leadership.
This is what separates Joseph from the magicians and wise men.
Yeah.
He doesn't just explain the problem, he offers a solution.
Right.
And it's a solution that requires foresight, organization, and trust in someone's ability to lead.
Yeah.
Now, what was it about Joseph that convinced Pharaoh to take such a gamble on him?
Well, I think it was a combination of
Yeah.
factors. First, Joseph's interpretation resonated with Pharaoh.
Yeah.
It provided a clear and logical explanation for these deeply troubling dreams.
It's like those pieces of a puzzle suddenly clicking into place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And second, Joseph's solution wasn't just about averting disaster. It
Right.
was about turning a potential crisis into an opportunity.
Uh-huh.
Imagine the impact of that on Pharaoh.
It shifts the whole narrative from fear and despair to one of proactivity and potential triumph.
Precisely.
Wow.
And finally, there's Joseph's demeanor.
Okay.
He's calm, he's collected, and he speaks with authority,
Right.
but also with humility.
Yeah.
He's not demanding anything.
Right.
He's simply presenting his interpretation and offering his advice.
It's almost like he's saying,
Yeah.
here's the situation, here's what we can do.
Right.
The choice is yours.
And that kind of approach can be incredibly persuasive,
Yeah.
especially coming from someone who just a moment ago was a nameless prisoner.
So Pharaoh makes a truly remarkable decision.
Okay.
He elevates Joseph to a position of extraordinary power,
Wow.
second only to himself.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine the whispers and the raised eyebrows in the Egyptian court?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
This was unprecedented. A foreigner,
Right.
a former prisoner, suddenly catapulted to the highest echelons of Egyptian society.
And to solidify this appointment, Pharaoh bestows upon Joseph some incredibly symbolic gifts.
Yes.
His own signet ring, fine linen robes, and a gold chain.
Right.
What's the significance of these items in ancient Egyptian culture?
They weren't just fashion accessories.
Right.
Each held deep symbolic meaning.
Mm-hmm.
The signet ring, bearing Pharaoh's seal, signified authority and the power to act on his behalf.
Okay.
The fine linen, often associated with purity and high rank,
Right.
marked Joseph's elevated status,
Mm-hmm.
and the gold chain, a mark of great honor and power,
Yeah.
symbolized the immense trust and responsibility placed upon him.
It's like Pharaoh was publicly declaring,
Yeah.
this man has my complete confidence.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's a powerful visual statement, leaving no doubt in anyone's mind that Joseph was now a force to be reckoned with.
So Joseph gets to work, putting his plan into action.
Right.
He oversees the gathering and storage of grain during those 7 plentiful years. I can only imagine the scale of this operation.
It would have been a logistical undertaking of epic proportions.
Oh, yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Coordinating the harvest from every corner of Egypt,
Uh-huh.
transporting the grain, building massive storage facilities,
Right.
ensuring its preservation, all while managing a vast workforce.
So it's almost mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And then, just as Joseph predicted, those years of abundance give way to the dreaded famine.
Right.
What's fascinating is that the story tells us the famine extended beyond Egypt's borders, impacting neighboring lands as well.
Yeah,
This puts Joseph's actions in an even more profound light, doesn't it?
absolutely.
Yeah.
His foresight wasn't just about saving Egypt.
Right.
It was about turning the nation into a beacon of hope for the entire region. People from surrounding lands desperate for food
Yeah.
flocked to Egypt, where Joseph, using the grain he had so carefully stockpiled,
Yeah.
was able to provide sustenance.
This must have been a pivotal moment in solidifying Egypt's position as a powerful and influential nation
Yes.
in the ancient world.
It was a strategic masterstroke.
Wow.
By leveraging their abundance during a time of widespread scarcity,
Right.
Egypt gained not only economic power, but also political leverage and regional influence.
It's a striking example of how foresight and strategic planning can transform a crisis into an opportunity.
Yeah.
What I find particularly interesting is that Joseph doesn't simply hoard the grain
Right.
or use it as a bargaining chip for power.
That's a crucial point.
Yeah.
Joseph's actions are guided by a sense of compassion and a desire to alleviate suffering,
Right.
both within Egypt and beyond. He recognizes the interconnectedness of nations, understanding that helping others ultimately benefits everyone.
There's a powerful lesson in that for us today, isn't there?
Absolutely.
In a world facing increasingly complex global challenges,
Yeah.
Joseph's story reminds us that collaboration and a willingness to help those in need are essential for long-term stability and prosperity.
And it highlights the fact that true leadership goes beyond self-preservation.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing the needs of others and using your resources to make a positive impact on the world.
Wow.
Now, looking back on Joseph's journey, from prisoner to savior,
Yeah.
what do you think were the key qualities that allowed him to navigate such a dramatic turn of events?
Well, for me, It's a combination of his unshakable faith, his insightful interpretation of dreams, and his ability to translate that interpretation into a practical, actionable plan.
Right.
But perhaps most importantly,
Yeah.
it's his willingness to forgive.
That's an often overlooked aspect of his story, isn't it?
Yeah.
He could have easily harbored resentment toward his brothers
Right.
for selling him into slavery.
Right.
Yet he chooses compassion and reconciliation.
It speaks to a remarkable level of emotional maturity.
Yeah.
And a deep understanding of the futility of holding on to anger and bitterness.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Joseph's story is about so much more than just surviving hardship.
Right.
It's about thriving in the face of adversity, about turning challenges into opportunities,
Yeah.
and about using your experiences to help others.
It's a timeless narrative that resonates with us on a human level,
Yeah.
even thousands of years later.
Absolutely.
We all face challenges. We all experience moments of uncertainty and doubt.
Yeah.
But like Joseph, we have the potential to tap into inner reserves of strength and wisdom,
Right.
to find meaning in our struggles and to emerge from difficult times transformed.
Yeah, and it reminds us that even when things seem hopeless,
Yeah.
even when the future looks bleak, there's always the possibility of redemption,
Right.
of renewal, of a brighter tomorrow.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into this fascinating chapter of Genesis,
Okay.
I'd like to leave you with a thought-provoking question. Okay.
If we think of ourselves as modern-day pharaohs, what are the dreams we might be ignoring in our own lives?
What are the subtle warnings, the whispers of change,
Right.
the unsettling feelings that we might be tempted to brush aside?
Yeah. Are we prepared for the inevitable challenges that life throws our way?
Do we have the foresight to recognize potential pitfalls
Yeah.
and the wisdom to act accordingly?
And perhaps most importantly,
Yeah.
are we willing to extend compassion and forgiveness to those who have wronged us, recognizing that holding on to resentment only hinders our own growth and happiness?
These are questions worth pondering as
Yeah.
we navigate the complexities of our own lives,
Right?
drawing inspiration from Joseph's remarkable journey of resilience, wisdom, and ultimately triumph.